All right, so another aspect of this is that I've been collecting material this whole time, right? Since I've been a kid. Photos, videos. So, what I mean by that is I really started posting again, or maybe just started before Peace Corps. When I started my Peace Corps journey, I recorded a few videos before I left and a few videos while I was in Morocco. I was there from 2014 to 2016. Um, and I recorded those videos because I had watched so many videos in preparation for that time period. Um, there's like this whole idea of like Peace Corps cribs, trying to see what living situations would look like. People, of course, were recording, their different projects and the things that they were going through, being in a different culture in different countries. And all of that really helped me when I was preparing to leave. And I think it really contributed to my resilience while I was there. I went at a time when you still couldn't choose your Peace Corps country. That actually changed about 6 months into while I was in country. They changed that policy. But anyway, um, I really appreciate all of the people who did and still do um, post about their time in Peace Corps because I think it really is helpful, and I wanted to be a part of that archive essentially, right, of contributing to that knowledge base that helped me before I left. Um, so yeah, just watching those videos, reading those blogs, um, I wanted to contribute to that, and um, I think those were good. Those were good. They're still up. That's why I continued on the same YouTube channel because I didn't want to erase that, you know. Um, but when I left, that's when I left kind of YouTube in a way. Um, I was stateside for a few months, and then I went to Korea to teach English to adults. Um, and during my time in Korea, I did record videos. I was recording all kind of videos. Um, I do remember this one in particular of trying like one of the most spicy ramen, and like my lips were completely red. Um, I am not a person that can handle a lot of spice, honestly. Uh, but instead of posting long form content on YouTube and continue my YouTube channel at the time, I switched over to Instagram. Um, and I love this app called 1 Second Every Day. I still really love it. I think it's a great way to kind of document the small moments. Um, and so what I did was I recorded just these short little 1 second, 2 second videos. Um, and I would do the custom feature where I would compile those short videos for the month, and I would post like, you know, August of that year, September of that year, what happened. Um, and honestly, it was because it was easier, right? It was quick. Um, didn't have to really think too hard about it. Um, kind of just wanted to show people I was still alive, that I was still abroad. Um, yeah, and I think in some ways too, I kind of talked myself out of doing the long form because video editing is a barrier. Like, it's definitely a skill to be learned. Kudos to all of the YouTubers who still do a lot of video editing. Like, that is a skill. And I was working really hard at the time, so yeah, it was just something that I had kind of let deter me from doing a lot of longer form um, videos. Um, but also in a sense too of like, I don't know, I've whenever I've been abroad or traveled, it's always been for work. So I was working hard. Um, and I think that I just I don't know, didn't fit as a travel content creator. Um, I don't know. I just kind of want to show my life. And I think at that time, I didn't realize that that was an option. I think I was still trying to figure out, like, how was I going to niche down into something. Um, so, as a way to kind of, again, I was always finding these different ways to still document. And so I still kind of wanted to post. I went to Instagram. Um, but I was looking back at them before I recorded this video, and I think at the time they were great for kind of remembering what was happening in the moment. Um, but I'm so far removed from it now that it's like it does bring up some memories, but I didn't go deep. I didn't explain a lot. They were kind of the everyday moments, but they weren't deep stories. Um, And so even then when I went to grad school, like I have some stories I think I recorded or at least took pictures, but not as much. Definitely slowed down. Um, and I think, I thought I had stopped documenting because I wasn't doing the longer form videos. But I was, right? I was still recording, I was still noticing, I was still witnessing. I just didn't go very deep. I just didn't go very deep. And I think there definitely is a difference in documenting for yourself and documenting to tell a story, to be a storyteller. Um, and I was definitely doing the first one, and I wasn't letting myself do the second. Um, and to be fair, I think there's nothing wrong with the first one, documenting for yourself. I think there's definitely something to be said about keeping things to yourself or keeping things for yourself. Not everything has to be shared, and even if they are, if that is the purpose to do it for yourself, I think that's wonderful, right? But I knew at that time there was a difference, right? There was a difference, and so that's why I still posted, but I kept it surface level. Did these basically maybe 30-second to a minute videos, right, on Instagram for the month. These quick snapshots, moments, without a whole lot of context. I mean, yes, I had captions, but it wasn't the whole story, right? Um, and so I was taking these small moments without going deeper. I was collecting the moments, um, but I wasn't going deeper. I wasn't building, right? Wasn't building a story. Um, and so I think in some ways I was documenting in isolation because I wasn't going deeper, just doing the highlights. And now thinking back on it and thinking about collecting that material, I think, like, as I think about this label or title, documentarian, that I talked about in my other video, um, and again, not necessarily married to any one label or anything like that, but I think words, they carry meaning, they have meaning, they're important. And I think if you're someone who's witnessing your life and you're recording and you're paying attention, you have the material and it's there and it's important. I think, like I said, I think my future self will really appreciate that. All right, change of scenes, because my phone was overheating, and I guess it was hotter outside than I thought. It looks really nice outside today. Temperature's nice, but anyway, we continue on. Um, so I think I was talking about, I left off at collecting versus building, as a storyteller and as a documentarian, right? So kind of going off of that, um, talking about not really going deeper, with the material and the content that I had. Um, and basically, I think at that time, I was waiting for permission, some kind of way. Um, like I said, I didn't really think I fit in as the travel content creator. Um, and I'm also throw this out there too. Like, I definitely, I think now I've grown out of it, but at the time, I definitely felt like, or I've been in those modes where, um, I didn't really understand that there's room for everyone to eat type of situation. Like, I think I saw there were other Black women content creators who were traveling in Korea um, at that time, or as English teachers at that time. And so I think based off the content that they were creating, and I was consuming it, like I was, listen, avid. I've always been an avid YouTube watcher. We don't want to go into how many hours of YouTube I've watched over the time that it has existed. We won't go there. Um, And so I think that um glad that that content was there. Didn't feel like I was either going to contribute something different or new or whatever. Whatever the naysayers in my head was going on, that's what was happening. So, um because also at that time in Korea, um I was thinking about what was going to be after Korea. I knew Korea wasn't going to be long term for me. Um, and so, and also let's kind of step back. Let me take a slight side quest. I'll come back. I'll come back to this. Why did I even go to Korea? Right? And that really could be probably a whole different video, but just snippet short. Um, when I was in Peace Corps, I went wanting to be in the education sector, and I was probably one of those 1% case situation differences of usually when you apply for your sector, because it's tied to your volunteerism hours and you have to have like a recommendation letter and all this kind of stuff. Usually they don't change what sector you're going to volunteer in. They did for me, and I think part of that was because of when I was trying to go. Um, I got switched to youth development because I was still able to teach English during that time. I was trying to decide if being a teacher was something that I want to do career wise. And so I was using these situations abroad to kind of figure that out. But I was, as a Peace Corps volunteer, if you're looking at kind of traditional Western hours of work, we were part time. Yeah, that could definitely be a whole nother video. But um, so I wanted to go to Korea to be working full time to see if teaching was still something that I thought I want to do as a long term career. Um, and so, and I definitely was teaching full time in Korea. Um, and so, to the point where like my vacation time was basically nil my second year that I worked. So anyway, um that's why I went to Korea. That's the point of that side quest, is to gain more experience as a teacher, as an English teacher. Um, and so yeah, I don't know, just didn't know, didn't I kind of let some negative thoughts in my head about what being a content creator or like a travel blogger was. Yeah, so I let some things stop me, let some things get in the way. So I was still collecting, you know, I was taking videos, but I wasn't posting the long form. I wasn't going deeper. Um, and just letting this content kind of pile up. So that's kind of why I kind of went to the 1 second, so I could still kind of show things, but in a different way. Um, And this was probably definitely one of the beginnings. And I see patterns and I allow patterns to happen in my life. So, kind of the cyclical nature of I was at this point where I was trying to figure out what was going to happen after Korea. So I was taking some courses around business and other things, and just trying to explore options and figure out what I wanted to do next, and just not really deciding on one thing, um, and basically feeling like I didn't have a complete story to tell. Right, there wasn't a conclusion, and I mean, thankfully not. Right, like life doesn't just end. We don't really realize that we have chapters that have ended until they do, but just didn't really understand the idea or believe in the idea that um, I could be documenting deeper and still telling a story while going through it. Thought I needed to be at the end of it to tell it, in a sense, right? Needed to have the, oh, da 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 da, and then, right? Um, and realizing that it's okay to not have that. That's what I know now, right? I know that now. That's why I'm documenting and coming back, because I don't have it all figured out. But I know that a story can still be told and witnessed in the moment. Um, and so I didn't stop documenting. I just didn't go deep. Um, and in some ways, yeah, that's why I'm doing this now. I'm coming back. I'm doing this challenge. Um, it's not always about creating new material in a sense. It'll be new for you all, but um, it's kind of about going deeper into what I already know and have discovered about myself. And um, and that's okay, right? Going through the journey and showing others that journey um, is okay without having reached the destination or the goal. Um, and so to end this video, here's my question for you all. Comment your answers below, please. Um, Love to kind of chat and get some engagement. Um, But what is something that you have been collecting that maybe no one really knows about, or it's not a public collection, so to speak. Maybe people know about it, but it's not on the people's internet, and that's okay. Not everything has to be shared. But if you do want it to be shared and you'd like to, just share the, what you're collecting. Um, do you feel like you need permission to share it? Do you feel like you're holding back in sharing it, and why? Let's talk about it. Thanks, guys.